Mixed martial arts. Mixed martial arts. Derrick Lewis would definitely not be mixing the martial arts.
All right, I mean, not a bad. I was getting fired up. The ending, you didn't stick the landing, Casey, but that's okay.
I was trying to change it up. You know, it's not the biggest fight card, so you know, spice it up. You know. Urgh.
Yes. This card, UFC Vegas 65, is my best friend Alexander Kaylee likes to say. It's a card. There will be fights happening, and the main event, a very popular, dangerous Derrick Lewis looking to slow down the surge of Serghei Spivac and try to get back in the win column. The UFC 281 hangover is real, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the UFC Vegas 65 live preview show here on MMAfighting.com. I am Mike Heck, being joined by the aforementioned best friend, Prince of Positivity, Alexander Kaylee. Hi, AK.
Oh, hey, guys. I was trying to come up with a poll, and I was struggling. But there is a poll up now in the chat. It's not the most scintillating poll I've ever made. Does a loss to Serghei Spivac knock Derrick Lewis out of the top 10? You can tell I'm really enthused about this weekend's card, Mike.
I hear the horns. All right,
well, that helped.
Yes. Well, let's start with the question everybody is here for once they saw you tagged in the tweet, AK. The gymnastics score. It's gymnastics score time. UFC Vegas 65. Look, this card is not good in terms of stakes. Now, are the matchups alone going to be fun and entertaining? There's a very good chance that like nine of these fights could be a lot of fun. They don't matter at all. You can make a strong case that the highest stakes fight on this entire card is a prelim fight in the women's flyweight division between Jennifer Maia and Marina Moroz. That fight, in terms of stakes and rankings and title discussion, there is more on the line in that fight than even in the main event. So while I think this early afternoon MMA card will be a fun watch, and there are worse things to do on a Saturday in terms of what these fighters are actually competing for in terms of stakes, not a lot here, AK, is there?
7, Mike. That's my gymnastics score. I think it'd be very hard for a UFC card to go below 7. I think if a UFC card goes below 7, I mean, we're talking like all-time like terrible lineup. Expectations should be pretty low, which can be a good thing sometimes. As you said, we're probably gonna end up having a good time. Like, I actually like a lot of the matchups, even if they're not like big names. We'll get to, again, sort of low-key bangers, but something like a Kevin Natividad of Ricky Tercios. If that was like LFA headliner, I'd be super jazzed about it. I'd be like, oh man, LFA has a friggin' killer headliner like this weekend. You can catch it on UFC Fight Pass, like Kevin Natividad and Ricky Tercios. So it's all a matter of perspective, right? It all depends how you look at it. If you look at it I think Vince Miles John's a great fight. Demopoulos Oliveira could be really fun. The undercard, it has. Then I wouldn't quite say prospects, because a lot of these fighters I wouldn't say are necessarily prospects. Some of them have experience. Some of them are a little up there in age, or like real life age, if not, combat sports years. And yeah, it would be I would be giving you a really hard sell if I was telling you like, well, Teresa Bleda could be fighting for the UFC flyweight title someday. And it's not to say she can't. She's looked really good in her career so far, but like for me to give you like to say confidently that would happen would be, again, I'd be selling you a bill of goods. I'd be kind of doing the UFC's job for them and trying to maybe make more of these fights than they are. But as far as like level of competition goes, I do think they've matched these people up pretty well, pretty evenly, which is why I'm going with 7. I mean, that's not a super exciting thing. The main card has a lot of potential for finishes. I wouldn't be surprised to see 4 out of 5 of these fights end in a finish, possibly all 5. But the one that wouldn't, Fialho Salakad, could just be an amazing like fight of the night type battle. So I'm talking myself into it, Mike. But about 7's about as high as I'm going to go. If everything goes as better than according to plan, again, we got a bunch of finishes, exciting fights. Then, like you said, we'll remember this is a fun card, but also the one that happened after 281. pretty much.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's just not a ton on the line here. So let's talk about the main event, because Derrick Lewis fighting Serghei Spivac. And in the meritocratic world of mixed martial arts, rankings, where these guys both are right now, streak against streak, this fight makes a ton of sense. It makes sense from a meritocratic perspective. It's just weird to see Derrick Lewis and Serghei Spivac on a poster, AK. It just is this where we're at with Derrick Lewis? Like, no disrespect to Serghei Spivac, but I was this fight on your bingo card in January that we were going to see Derrick Lewis and Serghei Spivac in a main event fight in November? Did you I could have never picked this one out and put it on any kind of a bingo card, even just like messing around, throwing darts. The darts wouldn't have landed on these two guys fighting each other.
Well, we'll have to go back to one of our bold predictions podcasts, Mike, and see if any of us said by the end of the year. Let me tell you something: Derrick Lewis and Serghei Spivac will be headlining a show. I don't recall. I think I'd remember that if one of us had mentioned it in an episode, but if one of us nailed it, it's pretty fantastic. Yeah, for some perspective, you're right, Mike. This is Derrick Lewis's 9th UFC main event. That's counting pay-per-views. For Serghei Spivac, his first. So it does look like a bit of an odd. That might be why it sounds so odd, like you said, to kind of see them on a poster, to see Lewis's name across from his at the top of a marquee, because Lewis, we're more than used to. Spivac, it is his first time. He kind of got lost in the shuffle in the last 18 months when we were talking about like Tom Aspinall and Christakis and Alexander Romanov. He didn't really get put in that bunch, and perhaps rightfully so. I'm not saying we overlooked him, but he is a heavyweight under 30 who's actually having success in the UFC. So maybe should be getting some shine. 5-1 in his past 6 fights. That might surprise people. That's kind of the issue here, right? Is I can run all these facts by you, and pretty much every fact I run by, unless you're one of these brilliant MMA fighting viewers, one of our regular hardcore fans, you'd be like, oh, really? Oh, he has this many finishes in the UFC. He's beaten Alexei Oleinik. He's 5-1. He's on a 2-fight win streak. People just don't know. Maybe this is his chance. He gets back Derrick Lewis. Maybe gets past Derrick Lewis. Excuse me. Maybe does a Hanato Moicano type, shocking profanity-laced promo. And we're talking about more than just being on a win streak. We're talking about him being a real heavyweight contender come Monday morning. But it's a long shot. Again, Prince of Positivity here. I'm hoping we see something like that. If not, it could be some classic Derrick Lewis performance. So there's a lot of positive outcomes that come out of this, even if we're not super jazzed about it, and there's not so many obviously compelling storylines going in.
Right now, the betting line, Serghei Spivac -200. The comeback on Derrick Lewis is +170. Pretty sizable underdog for Derrick Lewis. So that kind of, isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Look at where we've come. But Derrick Lewis, obviously, he's been finished in 3 of his last 4. The Cyril Gane fight we knew was a really tough matchup for him. He bounced back with the win over Christakis to end last year, then gets finished by Tai Tuivasa in a fight he was looking pretty good in the first round, and then got finished in under a minute by Sergey Pavlovich, AK. Mm-hmm. So is this do or die for Derrick Lewis? I understand he's a popular guy. I'm not saying do or die in terms of employments, because the UFC, he's not going to get cut because everyone loves the guy and he's so fun to watch and so fun to watch fight. But in terms of his fights, and maybe he doesn't need this, but in terms of his fights having significant meaning in this division, is this do or die for him?
I don't know, because I think there will always be streaking sort of up and coming heavyweights to put him up against in that sense. But also, is he just becoming a number to take? So like I said, the poll I threw out there is, I worded it very carefully, does a loss to Serghei Spivac knock Derrick Lewis out of the top 10? Because I think a win certainly puts Spivac in the top 10. That's for sure. He's going to at least take Derrick Lewis's spot, probably land around somewhere 7, 8, 9, depending how you do your rankings at home. But does it send, again, we have Lewis currently at 7. So does a loss to Spivac send him tumbling all the way from 7 to 11, 12, the 11, 12 range? I would think not out of the rankings altogether, because he does have wins over some of these guys. So just by MMA math, he's going to stay ahead of them. But maybe he drops below Alexander Volkov, who he's beaten. But I don't know. Maybe when you're on a 3-fight losing streak, you drop below him just by default. Maybe he drops below. I had the rankings. He drops below Marcin Tybura. I don't know. It is possible. Again, another guy he's beaten, but many years ago. Tabora, you could argue, has maybe had a little bit more success recently. Ryan Bader, who we know is going to fight Fedor. We know that I was going to fight Fedor in February. Maybe you drop Derrick Lewis below him. I don't know. I probably won't. I think even if Derrick Lewis, loses to Spivac, I give Spivac his spot. I probably just bump Derrick Lewis down one. But I can see a lot of people looking at this 3-fight losing streak, looking at his age, looking at who has he really beaten. Over the last few years. Again, Curtis Blade's still a great win, but I don't know. People might want to nitpick the other victories and might drop him out. I certainly wouldn't, but Mike, I don't know. I don't know where you are with that. Do you see yourself? He's taking a big hit with the loss of Spivac, especially if he gets finished or just looks really bad.
What does a win for Serghei Spivac do for him? Do you consider him a major threat in this division? Do you look at him that way? Like this is a big win. We could build on this. He's a couple wins away from fighting for the belt. Are we looking at him in that way? If he goes out there and does what the betting lines are suggesting, he's going to go out there and win, take Derrick down a bunch of times, maybe get a late finish. Like what happens then?
Again, I think he needs to show. I'm not saying he doesn't have personality. I think he needs to show more of an overt personality. That kind of personality that UFC likes. That boisterous, on the mic, loud, guy. That's we again. I hate to keep bringing up Moicano, but boy, that's one of the guys we were talking about so much coming out of this past weekend. Just because Moicano wants money. He's got a catchphrase now. I don't know if Serghei Spivac can come up with something like that. Because his resume will be, again, like I said, super strong. I know this is his first, I think this is his first top 10 guy. Yeah, he fought Aspinall and lost. So if he beats Lewis, again, his top 10 guy, 2-time heavyweight title contender, it'll be 3 straight wins, 6 out of 7. How do you not start putting him into that title conversation? And yet, because of what we said about this main event, it's a card that just doesn't have a lot of buzz. He could finish Derrick Lewis, and you feel like a lot of people just are not going to be tuning in to watch it live. I'm going to be very interested to see, we put together kind of fighter reactions during a card. I really want to see which fighters are tuned in. Are there going to be a lot of people at least watching the main event and kind of being, blown away if Spivac managed to take out Derrick Lewis? I'm very curious. That gives me a little, because when I see the fighter reactions, it gives me a little bit of a gauge if there's a broader, if fans in general are at least kind of cluing in, but this win could come and go. Even given the name that he's fighting, this win could come and go. And you feel like he's got to be at least, even after this, 2 wins away from even a number 1 contender spot. What I'm saying is I would be shocked if we're talking about Serghei Spivac in competing for a world title in 2023. So people, you can clip that. Maybe I'm going to sound dumb. Maybe Spivac just is peaking and just starts running through dudes in his next couple of fights. But I just don't see it happening.
Well, listen, this is his big chance because they gave him a pretty solid opportunity a while back. And if you are on to the next one, listeners, for the last couple of years, I have not let Serghei Spivac forget that performance against Alexei Oleinik because that was just not good. It was a win, but that was his chance just to go out there and just beat the brakes off this man. He couldn't do it. And I felt like that loss really hurt him. And then he gets thrown in there with Tommy Aspinall next. So we know how that went. And then gets Greg Hardy, gets him out of there. Augusto Sakai gets him out of there. But now he takes on the Black Beast, Derrick Lewis. And what's the whole thing about this fight, and we'll get to picks in a matter of moments, I just don't know what either of these guys are fighting for. It's just such a strange main event. Like it makes sense in the division, but I just have no idea what these guys are actually fighting for. So with that said, AK, what is your prediction? Does Derrick Lewis get back on track, or does Serghei Spivac pick up the biggest win of his career against a former title challenger?
Yeah, listen, I hate to kind of make our whole conversation moot. A lot of it has been revolving around what if Spivac wins and what does it mean for Derrick Lewis to lose, etc. But I think the Black Beast pulls this one off. Here's the kind of fighters that Derrick Lewis, I've said this, messed up so many times today. Here's the kind of fighters that Derrick Lewis loses to. Okay, let's look at let me bring it. Guys who are athletically, vastly athletically superior, he's going to lose to. That's your Sergey Pavlovich's, that's your Cito Gans. Guys that are really technically superior strikers. I mean, I'd put Volkov in there, and Volkov was beating him for the entire fight before getting, just hammered in the last round. But I would put Cito Gan in there as well, and then Junior Dos Santos. Guys who can just kind of pick Derrick Lewis apart. And then guys that are Daniel Cormier. If you're Daniel Cormier, you're probably going to beat Derrick Lewis. So those are the guys he loses to. Athletically superior, technically superior, or if you're Daniel Cormier. Tai Tuivasa, I will say, it was like a coin toss. It's like two guys who are just masters of swanging and banging. So I really feel like that one could have gone either way. But yeah, those are the kinds of guys he loses to. Serghei Pavlovich doesn't really fall into any of those categories. I don't think he's that much better of an athlete than Derrick Lewis. He's certainly not a powerhouse puncher. Most of his finishes, again, he's a good grappler, take him down, ground and pound. And as we know with Derrick Lewis, he doesn't believe that jiu-jitsu or any of that stuff works. So he's just going to get back up. I see him taking damage for sure. I see it being a tough fight, but I don't know if Spivac has the tools to keep him down. And in the stand-up, I just don't think he has that kind of one shot threatening power that's going to keep Derrick Lewis honest. So Derrick Lewis had some bad luck. The Pavlovich stoppage again, didn't look good. People are still contested. Hopefully he doesn't end up in a situation like that again. And as long as, again, I think there's no weirdness. Black Beast by knockout, man.
I'm with you, AK. This thing just screams Derrick Lewis knockout to me. I think Spivac might be able to get him down at some point, but Derrick Lewis is Derrick Lewis, and he'll just find a strangely non-technical way to just power himself back to his feet. And that's where Derrick Lewis is the most dangerous. You seem like if you get him down, you're feeling pretty confident in yourself, and then Derrick just hulks his way back up, and then you could just see the confidence just leave the opponent's bodies. They just whisk up into the rafters, and then Derrick lands the big shot. So I'm going Derrick Lewis. I'm going back to old school mythical Derrick Lewis. Second round, KO, TKO. I think he gets Serghei out of there. I think Serghei gets a little frustrated, and then he just gets hit with the big shot and gets put to sleep, and Derrick Lewis gets the upset win, at least with the betting odds. But I'm kind of shocked that Spivac is the favorite in this fight, considering the styles and stuff. And if you're looking at this from a betting perspective, I know Derrick Lewis is plus money on the money line, but Derrick Lewis Derrick Lewis by knockout is plus 215. So you might as well just take the extra juice if you're going to throw some money on the Black Beast. So that's the main event. The co-main event, we have Ion Cutelaba versus Kennedy Nzechukwu, AK. Did you see the face-off between these guys? Ion Cutelaba, what have you done with this man?
Yeah.
He's very, very nice. He's offered hugs.
He is. It got awkward.
Handshakes and smiles. Yeah.
The hug was not nailed, though. The hug was awkward.
I mean, it was like his first hug in a way, and maybe in his entire career.
He went for the hug. Kennedy thought, he went to put an arm around him so they could do, I think, like a shared like pose with the to the cameras. And I think Kennedy thought, he's going in for a full, come in for the real thing hug. And he kind of like turns towards him, and then Ion's like turning back towards the cameras, and you guys can see the clip. It's on UFC social media or wherever. It's everywhere. It's a little awkward, but I guess we can all be happier that it is maybe a different side of Ion Cutelaba. We do see a lot of theatrics. We've seen him paint his whole body green. I guess he wouldn't do that. He doesn't have that opportunity here because there's no ceremonial weigh-ins. They did the face-offs right after the official weigh-ins this morning. But yeah, we are getting a kinder, gentler, more mature Ion Cutelaba, and people can decide for themselves whether that's a good thing or not.
Should be an interesting fight. Do we get crazy Ion or do we get Diwan Cutelaba? We shall see. Kennedy Nzechukwu is pretty much grown up in the UFC, so we'll see what kind of steps he has taken. Chase Sherman, Waldo Cortez Acosta going down at a heavyweight bout. Muslim Salikov, Andre Fialho should be fun. And then main card kicks off with Jack Della Maddalena taking on Danny Roberts. So, which main card fight outside of the main event, AK? Is it a fighter, a fight, storyline at this main card that you're zeroed in on outside of this main event?
I love any fight with Andre Fialho. This is his fifth UFC appearance of the year, by the way. He's 2-2 so far. It's crazy for me that he's 2-2 because I could see a lot of guys who are like, they've 3-0. They're on a win streak. They're like, I want to get back in there as soon as possible. This guy loses fight. He's got knocked out. He's got knocked out by Jake Matthews, and he's like, you know what? I still want to go back in there. I'm good. I have no non-brain related injuries. I'm whatever. His knees are fine. He has no broken hands, nothing, no busted up shoulders. So he's like, put me in there, book me. So yes, this is his fifth fight of the year. He fought 3 times in a span of 7 weeks. I think it was like 46 days. So this guy's crazy and very fun. But I will say, let's go with a little bit of a sort of contender watch here. Jack Della Maddalena. Like, I think you're very high on this guy. He's kind of got that X factor. He's kind of got that that KO power that you just can't. I mean, it certainly can be taught, but you also got to just have it. Like you got to have a certain acumen for it. This guy just hits, like, throws bombs. I mean, when Jack Della Maddalena lands, like, he is out there to KO every time, and so far has been as advertised in the UFC. I think Danny Roberts is the perfect matchup for him. With respect to Danny Roberts, he does find himself on the wrong ends of highlight reels every now and then, and that could be the case with Jack Della Maddalena. So, he's a huge underdog. Hey, Danny Roberts, prove me wrong, prove us all wrong, but I'm definitely got my eye on that main card opener to produce a highlight for the Australian.
Yeah, I think that's the correct answer. And I think Danny Roberts is a great opponent here for the reasons you just mentioned. As Jed likes to say, it's very important to be able to win impressively, but it's almost equally as important to lose impressively. And Danny Roberts can do both and do both pretty well. But he's a massive underdog. Danny's fun. I think Danny's going to get in his face, be a nice test for Jack. And the goal with this fight is to make sure that Jack can go out, look good, style a little bit, get a quick finish, and be able to turn right back around and fight in Perth in February, since he's already essentially being advertised for that card, yet he's got to fight tomorrow. But he needs to go out there and take care of business. I like this fight. Very high on this guy. He's like 26, so he's not even getting into his athletic prime for another couple of years, so definitely somebody to keep an eye on at 170 pounds. Low-key banger, AK. What's the low-key banger? We're diving a little deeper. Diving into the prelim pool. What are we looking at? Is there a fighter you're watching? Is there a fight?
I got a shout out. Again, I said it. I hinted at the top of the show. I got to shout out Kevin Natividad and Ricky Tercios. I mean, Kevin Natividad has not had a lot of luck in the UFC, but before the UFC, he's a lot of highlights, big knockouts, and Ricky Tercios, just the character from The Ultimate Fighter. I don't know how good he is. I'll be honest with you. He won The Ultimate Fighter and then lost his first post tough fight. That's fine, but he's a real personality, man. He's a real guy. Like, I don't know if the card starts until Saturday's card starts until that Ricky Tercios fight comes on. With respect to some of the names coming on before, I think Vanessa Demopoulos, again, a lot of star power there. Actually, as is her opponent, Maria Oliveira. So that matchup might be what piques people's interest at first, but I think it's really going to get going when Ricky and Kevin get in there, because Tercios is just the new age Diego Sanchez. I know that's a lofty comparison to live up to, but boy, I just love his personality. I think he's better than he showed in that Ayman Zahabi fight, and I think he gets back on the winning track here. And if not, maybe it's Kevin Natividad who gets off the schneid and gets his first UFC win. So good matchmaking here. I hope. I assume Tercios has a bit of a longer leash than Natividad just because from winning the Ultimate Fighter, but I hope neither man's job is necessarily in jeopardy, because I think this could turn out to be a really fun fight. Possibly steal the show, possibly win Fight of the Night award, or at the very least, we might get some Ricky Tercios related, just like weirdness that we'll be talking about after this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Maya Moros, that's the easy pick. So, Johns Morales, I like. Miles Johns no longer with Fortis MMA, which is kind of strange because he's been kind of one of the captains of the ship over there for a while, but he's moved. He's got James Krause in his corner now. He's working at Gloria MMA. So we'll see what kind of difference that makes. I'm actually really interested in the first fight of the card. Natalia Silva, who became kind of a breakthrough fighter to watch, coming back and fighting Jasmine Jasdavizius, who is just a big athletic 125er. So what does the UFC do? Hey, you looked so good against a big, strong, athletic 125er. Let's throw you in there with an even bigger, stronger, more athletic 125er. And that's exactly what she's getting with Teresa Bleda, who 15-0 total. That includes a 9-0 AMI run. She's 6-0 as a pro. She's fought really good competition. And this woman is 5'9" and has a 71-inch reach in the women's flyweight division. You don't see a lot of fighters having that in the women's flyweight division. So Natalia Silva impressed the hell out of me in that fight with Jasmine Jasdavizius. Teresa Bleda deserves this opportunity to get her shot at the UFC. So These two are going to get after it, and it's going to be a fun way to kick off the card. So don't miss it. 1 p.m. Eastern, that's when the card starts. Early day MMA, and I think it's going to kick off with a fun one between these two women, AK.
Plata's 20 years old.
She's 20.
20 years old, 6-0 as a pro, 9-0 as an amateur. So she's riding a 15-fight win. That's a nice number to have next to your name going into your first UFC fight.
Yeah, and there's no 5-22s on her record. There's no 0-7s on her record. All legit people, all legit fighters that she's been in there with, all with winning records, all pretty prevalent names over there. She's been in there with some good fighters, man. Should be a fun scrap. I'm looking forward to it.
Wow. All right. I'm looking at her combined. If my mental arithmetic here is correct, her last 4 opponents, the combined record 43-11, 43-11-2. That's really good for we've seen a lot of people come in with like 7-0, 8-0, 9-0 records into the UFC or into any promotion, into Bellator or PFL, and then you look at their sort of who they've beaten, and you're like, oh, it's like, oh, they're in that, like 2 fights ago they beat a 1-15 person, and it's like that's okay. I'm listening, Mike. I'm listening.
Yeah, she looked good on the Contender Series and almost got a finish in that fight, and then had first round finishes the 2 previous fights. So she's fun, and Silva's fun. Let's see what they can do to kick off this card. Okay, let's go to the peeps. I mean, look, I like I said, love to sit here and just break down all sorts of storylines, but there just aren't a ton of them on this card. This is just going to be a fun, cool watch. This is we're knocking on the door to the holiday season, and we're just going to watch a bunch of fun fights just for the second half of the paycheck, which is there's worse things we could do on a Saturday, right, Casey?
Yeah, technically there are worse things, yes.
Okay. All right.
Well,
by the way,
we're watching adults. Watching adults beat each other up for money. That's fine.
Yeah.
73% of our voters, a lot of people chimed in too. 73% of our voters say yes, a loss to Serghei Spivac knocks Derrick Lewis out of the top 10 of the heavyweight rankings. My goodness, what have you done for me lately, eh?
Where do we have him ranked? We have him ranked
7.
at number 7.
7. He's in there. Like he's not like 8.
7.
He's not like 8. He's not like 9. He's like 9, 8 or 9. He's 7.
And we don't have Spivac isn't even in our top 15.
No, Spivac's not even he is a FARV. He actually is on three ballots, but it's not just outside.
What's that word you use? A what?
It's a FARV. He's a fighter also receiving a vote. He's a FARV.
Did you make that up, or is that a thing?
All the kids are saying it. All the kids. It was trending yesterday on Twitter. But two things are trending yesterday. Hashtag RIP Twitter and hashtag FARV.
I think I have Derrick Lewis ranked below everybody. I have him at 11 right now.
Ooh, wow. He's already outside of the Mike Heck top 10.
Where is he on my personal rankings?
Yeah, let's check. I gotta check this too.
My personal rankings, he is number 9. My personal
you have him 9. Okay, so you have him lower than the consent. So I must have him. I probably have him still.
Who has him?
I must be up there.
I
have him 6. I have him 6. Damon, I see Damon also has him 6. So we got him up there.
Yeah,
I hated the Serghei stoppage, but it happened.
Right.
That's how it is. It is what it is. To the questions.
Let's go to the peeps.
Let's go ahead and just talk about this just a little more, because I think that's really what's really at stake for this. What's at stake for this entire card? I know we've kind of mentioned it, but I don't know. I feel like we could go a little bit more. God dang it! What happened here? Everything.
I mean, that was pretty much the question I presented to AK. To have his fights matter, he has a name, and like Dan Hooker, his fights still matter, even though he was on the Schneid. Beating Dan Hooker has a lot of value. I don't know if
his fights do matter.
Derrick Lewis.
His fights do matter because, like you said, if Spivac wins, we kind of see him as a top 10 player. So I would think the fight matters because of that.
I'm not saying right, but what I'm saying is if Derrick loses this fight, if Derrick loses tomorrow and gets run over and stopped, does he still hold that same value? Now getting stopped 3 fights in a row, 4 out of 5, and now Serghei Spivac at the top of that list. Is it still the same impact?
Yeah, he's that gatekeeper. He's that top we'll call him that top 10 gatekeeper. He's the Neil Magny of the heavyweight division. I don't know. The guy who's just kind of always around, and we doubt we'll ever see him fight for a title or win a title, or maybe not even ever be a number one contender. But if you want to be a contender, you got to beat Derrick Lewis. And Derrick Lewis is only 37, which for heavyweight years, is that right? 37, Derrick Lewis?
Yeah, he's 38 in February.
Yeah, so Derrick Lewis, unless his body fails him or he just wants to move on, I could see Derrick Lewis, sticking around for another 4 or 5 years. So,
Someone in the comments said Derrick Lewis has never lost in Las Vegas.
I was going to talk about that.
And this is true.
The fact that he's at the Apex, has he lost at the Apex ever? Well,
he's never lost Las Vegas. Yeah, so he's never lost the Apex.
I think Derrick Lewis fights better at the Apex. I think that small cage is very beneficial to him. I think having no crowd, relatively very little amount of media to do. They do media for 15 minutes at the media day, and that's basically it. There's no real press. He does the same amount of media that whatever one of the 15 fighters they bring out there. So there's nothing like really heavy amount of promotional work he has to do for Apex cards. So I think this is good for Derrick Lewis. But back to this question,
because he meant it when he said like he hated fighting in Houston, like he hated like not just doing all the media, but everything being centered around him. Oh, Derrick Lewis story, and he said after, I hate that. He's not joking when he says like I hated fighting at home and being everyone, like he did not like it at all. Yeah,
I'm sure because he's one of those fighters. He's very honest about like, I'm not into this for like I want to be known as the greatest heavyweight ever. Like that's my legacy. He's like paychecks, and fighting in the Apex in front of 6 people, he gets paid the same amount of money as fighting in front of 15,000 people who are all screaming his name. So, and I think Derrick Lewis he enjoys that Apex approach to fighting much better. So back to, sorry, we kind of.
Derrick's, no matter what happens, Derrick's for the most part still the A side in all Derrick Lewis fights, and it doesn't matter who he fights. So, will he still be okay in the long run? Of course he will, because Derrick Lewis is fighting, and that's all people care about. Him being on the poster. They're just like, oh, Derrick Lewis is fighting. And it could be against anybody. Will it have the same meritocratic oomph beating Derrick Lewis? Maybe, maybe not. But that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter because Derrick fighting anybody still gets people talking, still generates interest. And that's all he needs. He's beyond titles. He's beyond rankings. He's beyond all of that. He's just Derrick Lewis, the balls are hot guy that everybody loves. And that's really all that matters for him. Even if he wins, he's still the same guy. He's still so far away from fighting for a belt. But again, with a guy like that, it does not matter. It doesn't matter.
He's a long ways away from where Chase Sherman is right now. Let me put it this way: just being thrown into mid-main card fights with Waldo Cortez Acosta. That is like not what's next for Derrick Lewis, even if he loses.
No,
it's a long way to go.
Let me put it this way: the guy that just beat Derrick Lewis is like the 5th fight down on his next card. Serghei Pavlovich is fighting Tai Tuivasa, but he's not even near the main event on that card. And Derrick Lewis is still a main event after getting knocked out.
I thought that was the co-main event of that card.
I thought Dos Anjos Barberena's the. But either way, he's not main eventing.
Which card is this?
The Orlando card.
I don't know if the lineup's finalized, but yeah, I thought RDA. I don't know if the lineup's finalized, but
yeah, they did move it around. Shocking.
Yeah, so that's what I mean.
That's good for Ty.
So Derrick Lewis is still a bigger name getting knocked out than the guy that Pavlovich who knocked him out in like 30 in a minute. It was just So even if Spivac wins, like Derrick Lewis still might headline the next Apex card, and Spivac might, while moving up in the rankings, might still be just another heavyweight. So.
I don't know if you're going to pull this one up, Casey, but just someone asked while we were answering that, is Derrick Lewis a Hall of Famer? Oh, no question. No question.
Absolutely.
UFC loves him. Dana White loves him. He's fought for the UFC title 3, undisputed once, interim once. So two UFC title fights. He holds a bunch of records.
He holds the record, the most important record probably in the UFC.
Knockouts in any division, not just heavyweights. Yeah, most knockouts, period. 13 knockouts.
That's like
knockouts.
How can you not be in the UFC Hall of Fame and have that record? That's like.
This is true. Second in wins behind Arlovsky, way behind Arlovsky. Arlovsky is just ahead of everyone by a mile.
Story,
but Third most UFC appearances behind Mir and Arlovsky. Hat tip.
Third most UFC appearances. That's wild. Actually that one kind of surprised me. Like, yeah.
Third most UFC heavyweight appearances.
Yeah, heavyweight. Either way, yeah.
Mir Arlovsky. Yeah. And again, even beyond the stats, it's just a memorable personality. It's just a guy who, when we think of the UFC, from this era of the UFC, he is one of the faces and just like people you will think of. That's a definition of Hall of Fame, right? So there you go.
I always kind of am amazed that a promotion like Bellator had Derrick Lewis, and he lost in Bellator. He's a Bellator washout, and yet they somehow let him go. Like, they couldn't see that star power in him, even in a loss. But Derrick Lewis, obviously, when he came to the UFC, he did get a win in his first fight, so I guess that helped. Like, who knows if he would have lost his first UFC fight? Maybe everything's different, but... All right.
MMA fighting giving me hours of content to get through this dumbass work week. You guys, hey, thanks, Addison.
You're very welcome.
It's an honor.
You guys help us get through our work week, so it's like it's mutual, man.
Yes.
Our dumbass work week or just regular? Our dumb.
Well, I mean, I love our work week,
but no. We have a regular ass work week, not dumbasses.
Regular ass, yeah.
Regular ass. We have.
Yeah, you guys.
It's a smart ass work week.
Yeah,
smart ass work week.
I like this comment. I think this is Mauro Ranallo's burner account.
Will the polar bear chill the beast's bones, or will the heat from melt the polar bear's habitat?
I appreciate that.
The latter. The latter's my pick. There'll be more melting than chilling, I think.
I'm not saying that out loud. I'm not. Lewis is going to win. Okay, to answer your question, sir, Lewis is going to win.
I completely forgot that you guys were so excited about what's his name? Ricky. What's his name? Ricky what?
Turcios.
Ricky Turcios. But can we talk about?
Yeah. Look, I answered this in the comments. Sorry, Alex Lawson. Do you remember Ricky's fight? Dude sat around throwing Hadoukens instead of fighting. Yeah, imagine if he had hit one of those Hadoukens though. It would have been over. That's automatic KO. So, he couldn't get his chi right. It wasn't quite as spectacular fireballs as you would like to be. But I saw Carlos Newton used to. Well, actually not mid fight. He would do it after the fight. He'd do the Kamehameha. But whatever. Listen, it's a technique. He's got to work on it. Maybe this time will be more refined. We'll see. I support shooting fireballs in the octagon. So
I'm trying to. I have to pull this up because I knew it was just flabbergasting numbers. So Ricky Turcios's last fight, his only UFC fight, or no, I'm sorry, yeah, his fight against Amin Zahabi.
Yeah, after Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah, he was 27 of 235 in strikes.
Say it again.
That is.
Say it again.
He landed 27 of 235. Were his strike numbers. 27 of 235. That is like.
That's got to be a record.
That's 11%. That's 11%. No, he lost.
Okay, he lost the fight. I was like,
he lost a very clear decision.
Okay.
Caitlin is jealous of those numbers right now.
Yeah, Amin landed twice as many strikes and threw 120 less. He was 54 of 105.
You know what though, Mike? Anybody could do that though.
It was a crazy fight. It was such a
how hard it is? You know how hard it is to throw over 230 strikes and only land like 20 something? That's hard. Like, that's hard to do. Like the energy it would take and the mental confidence. Anybody? Oh, let's say I was fighting Casey and I'm like tuning Casey up. Yeah, I'd be very confident throwing. But if I'm like hitting air, I'm just probably gonna give up. You know who's not gonna give up? Ricky Turcios is not gonna give up. All right, he's like, you know what? I'm 20 for 220, but you know what? Next, I'm gonna land. I gotta throw 10 more strikes to land 10 more strikes. So I'm just gonna keep throwing. So I'm more impressed by that than anything.
Yeah. Round of applause for Ricky Turcios, not giving up.
Don't give up. Keep throwing.
Keep throwing.
Yeah. Listen, I'm interested in seeing
this.
I
really thought I misheard you when you said that number, Mike. I was like, no, you must be talking something else.
I'm not. I knew his fight. Like there was a crazy statistic in that one. Yeah, he landed in his other fight. He threw 291 in his other fight, AK, against on this Contender Series fight. He was 110 of 291 against Boston Salmon.
That's amazing.
Pretty and he landed 100 against Brady Highstand.
Yeah.
100 of 171. 58% in that fight, AK. So he could do it.
That's by 1,000 cuts, guys. By 1,000 cuts.
1,000 near cuts that misses.
Nah, he's a fun dude. Him winning is
no, he is a fun dude. That was just a weird fight. These things happen in MMA.
Omar M says, y'all never played Street Fighter before. Spam buttons, build that special meter for the big Hadouken. Yeah, he's just building up a super meter, guys. He's building up a super meter, and the fights are too short. Wait till he's in a 5-rounder, then he'll shoot a fully charged fireball in the 4th and 5th. He just hasn't had enough time. This is really the problem.
You're selling us all, AK. I love it.
Let's bounce from this card slightly real quick, and let's I want to give a shout out to. You can read the question real quick.
I know you guys poo-pooed this idea, but if both Casey and Oscar keep winning their fights, as a degenerate fan, I would love to see 2 popular MMA media guys fight. Does that make me feel hard? Does that make me horrible? Yeah, you're a terrible human being, Scott. Yes.
I appreciate you wearing a seatbelt in your avatar. That's nice. That's safety first.
I mean, I don't. You know, you've probably been around Oscar more than I have, Casey. Obviously, we all know Oscar. He's a great guy. Are you guys in the same? You're quite a bit taller than him, aren't you?
He's fighting at 55. He said, and
okay, and that's where you want to fight at, right?
Yeah, I can make 55. But I just want to give a shout out, Oscar, but more about Oscar Willis of our friendly rival, the Mac Life. He is fighting tonight in his first amateur bout in Las Vegas. So good luck to him. Can't make it out there, but I did help him train for this fight. So Scott, I can't fight a training partner. We had some good sparring rounds. Where are we in Phoenix? We worked together. So I helped him give that mental fortitude to get this victory tonight. So I don't know how you can watch the fight. I don't know if it's streamed or what, but he is fighting. I think maybe a tough enough card in
it is
Las Vegas.
He has a Wikipedia. Oscar Willis officially has a Tapology page, by the way. He is fighting Jeremiah Benavidez, as you said, Casey, at a Tough Enough show. I will check now. I'll do a little research right here, see if we can figure out if this is airing anywhere. I know Tough Enough's usually pretty good about getting clips out. So if something crazy happens, they'll probably get out pretty quickly. But yeah, that's exciting. The Galaxy Ballroom at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas.
Yeah. So originally there were supposed to be 2 other media members too, but I think because of injuries and other circumstances couldn't make the fight. Kenny Johnson from
what? Kenny was fighting? Oh my god!
He's not fighting. He
was going to.
Yeah, he was going to, but and Dan Tom from MMA Junkie, I think injuries.
I saw that.
Injuries they had to pull out because of the fight. I mean, pull out the fight due to the injury. Mm-hmm. But our boy Oscar made it. He's there, so
God, it's exciting.
Wishing him good things for him. That rules. But he's
good
tough,
luck,
man.
Oscar.
Like we had some good rounds. He had a mean right overhand. I was like, all right, I had to watch out for that. It was me.
Casey, the scouting.
Oh,
the guys watch.
Jeremiah his low single is like dangerous. Watch out.
There you go. There it is.
He kept.
I heard he's an excellent foot stomper, Jeremiah. He's an excellent foot stomper.
All right. What else do we got here?
Let's take like 1 or 2 more, if we have them.
Where'd it go? I lost it.
We do have a People's Pre-Fight Show tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. Eastern, so we'll have just a whole block of time dedicated to your questions.
All right. Of course, there is more than one ultimate. There's more than just Ultimate Fighting this weekend. So maybe quickly. Any other MMA this weekend to watch?
It's Bellator. It's best card of the weekend. UFC Bellator 1. Bellator is the best card because of the 2 title fights.
Yeah, check out. You don't need check out the prelims if you want to on Bellator, but definitely check out the main card. Definitely check out the top 2 fights. If you're gonna watch any 2 fights this weekend, honestly, it's the 2 title fights for Bellator. But as far as a whole card, I still recommend the UFC card. If you're picking in particular fights, Bellator. Yeah. And was it Shinya Aoki fighting too on one?
He is on one tomorrow, the Saturday card. Yeah, so the card tomorrow.
I always love watching Shinya.
Yes. By the time some people might listen to this on Saturday on the podcast network, so by that time that happens, you will know what had happened in those title fights, and you can go back in time and tell us whether we were right. But yeah, Bellator looks like a good card. Daniel Weichels, holy crap, he's still going at it, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure is.
42 and 13. So let me do 450. This is 56th pro fight. He's fighting
He's a real.
He's fighting an 11-0 guy. He's been fighting since 2002. 20 years. Congratulations, Daniel Weichel, on 20 years. Man, Casey, you're on your way. You're on your way to
yeah.
just chipping away at it.
I just want to put this up. Scott, give me a call. I would jump on a plane and go to Tokyo. I'm ready. I would send me a contract.
Real thing.
Send me a contract and get and book me against some overweight comedian that wants to fight and Rising.
Yes,
I'll take
comedian / pro wrestler.
Yeah, I would love to fight. Yeah, I'm all down for those type of fights right now in Bellator, and Bellator Rising. Oh, in a ring with knees on the ground and soccer kicks. Woo, lovely. All right.
All right. I think we're good.
Anything
All
else?
right. So, yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, Bellator card going down later on. We'll see you tomorrow, 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Yes, early start time MMA. That makes everything better. Prelims at 1 p.m. Eastern, main card at 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll have our post-fight show right after. And then I already warned our On to the Next One listeners on Heck of a Morning. Get your matchmaking picks in pretty quickly after UFC Vegas 65, because AK and I are probably going to record On to the Next One on Saturday night. All right? So until then, for Casey, for AK, I am Mike Heck. Enjoy Bellator, and we'll see you tomorrow.